And you're just in time for your only show on matters public policy, business and economics at large, hosted by yours truly, son of the soil, Richard Mwanja. Indeed, as always, it is a pleasure to have you on board. Now, on today's show, we are going to tackle the most recent development in our economic setup, that is the capacity building and empowerment of border riders by the sitting administration, a ceremony that was headlined by the president, that is William Samoei Ruto. We want to look and unpack the entire event and what good tidings are there for the border riders. That is a sector that has employed many of our youths and also addressing the unemployment crisis in this country. Now, with me on this conversation is none other than East Africa's renowned public scholar, the first of his name, Herman Manyora.
Yes, very cold.
Great, of course.
Very cold.
My Ethiopian coffee as always. Where's your cup though?
Oh, it's coming.
It is coming?
Yes.
Just so you cannot afford one.
Yeah, no, I can afford.
You really can?
I can afford.
You
I'm a rich Kenyan.
You are rich Kenyan?
Yeah.
Yet people like Boni Khalwale are flattening your mountain on the social media space.
Boni.
Reducing you to a mere boy.
Boy, Boni Khalwale has nothing to say. Boni Khalwale is an intelligent man who has reduced himself badly, but he's my brother, so I'll pray for him. I'm out to rehabilitate him.
Aside Boni Khalwale, we also seen people like Bitok saying how desperate you are for an appointment in the government. That's why you've shifted ground.
Bitok got one recently. He's my boy. He's a good boy. I like Bitok. He's intelligent. But the problem in this country is the level of sycophants. You know, the kind of kneeling people do, and people go on their tummies, their bellies, to please an individual. I don't think I'm wired like that. I'm not wired like that.
All right, very well. We wait to see where the big boy badge is going to lead you.
People like us are people who can be given an appointment and we turn it down. We are not many, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the other day, you wanted to go into elective politics more likely for the money that is there.
No. If I go into elections, it will be to serve my people, not for money.
Not for money?
No.
It remains to be seen. So let's get into today's conversation. We're talking about the recent reforms that the president wants to spearhead in the border sector. Of course, this is a sector that has employed so many of the Kenyans. And one of the fronts he want to advance some reforms there in is on health cover, promising border riders a 1 year free medical cover on the initial phase of these reforms. From there, let's just generalize the entire thing. Would you say that finally you've been crying the issue of accidents, border people not being able to afford decent Medicare and all that stuff? Do you think that is fast way of really revitalizing the sector? 1 year free medical cover.
You know, what I don't like, and I've never supported, is playing with the lives of people. I will never support. I will never support people who are a populist in what they do. I will never support people who lie to our people. I will never support them.
Where's the lie?
I stand for facing challenges head on and telling our people the truth and working with them through the challenges. That is what I stand for. And for that reason, I do not support border as a business.
You don't support it?
No.
But these are
we are lying to our children. These are our children. We are lying to them.
But then again,
you cannot make a living out of You can't. It's a lie. It's a big lie.
The statistics out there, we've already seen over 1.5 million Kenyans employed in the sector.
That's not employed. They are just there. This is just making money for Chinese and Indians who are selling them on the borders. Ask anybody, to be honest with you, who bought a motorcycle. A friend of mine bought 3. He began to calculate. He sold all of that. You can't make money from a border.
They're not smiling all the way to the bank?
No. It's a lie. We are just promoting people who are selling border here. But for us, if you look at the benefits vis-a-vis the damage, if I may say, if you look at the number of accidents alone, on the basis of just accidents alone, and what that means to the country in terms of costs, vis-a-vis the so-called livelihood they are making, on the score of accidents alone, you rule out border. Without even before you go to the social, cultural harm. Out of every 10 teen pregnancies in the village, 6-7 are caused by border.
You cannot say that.
Of course we know. You know me, I'm not the type of foolish person to go and do stupid statistics and research. We have broad brains that look at things broadly. Researchers can go and confirm what we know to be true. That over 60% of teen pregnancies in the villages arise out of border borders. Secondly, the border industry itself, the people who do these borders are to a large measure also responsible for crime. In many of the countries where border started, organized crime is facilitated by motorcycles. And that's why I said, when I first saw borders coming into this country, I said, where is the intelligence? Where are the men and women we pay to think for us in terms of intelligence, the security of the country? They would have won the country. People who went this direction are regretting. Do not allow borders in this country. Because the consequences are there for all to see. Organized crime, violent crime, teen pregnancies, accidents, you name it. They are the wrong thing to have. The subculture itself of the border industry. But I'm an old man with the children and the grandchildren. These young people require livelihood.
True.
So I'm not saying you tell 1.4 million borderizers to go home. No, I'm saying as a country, we should give these people alternative means of livelihood.
Not just formalizing the sector.
Because even the people who are engaged in slave trade, when the problem with ending slavery and slave trade, people said a lot of people relied on the chain. It was a chain up to the transatlantic trade in slaves. And American and the other countries, islands, Cuba, depended on slaves for sugar plantation. So people argued. But reason prevailed around mid-19th century. And the world agreed. For example, for the chiefs and other tribal kingpins who depended on slaves for survival of their kingdoms, an alternative was given to them. What is it? Olive plants. Is it olive or something? Palm. For oil. They began to grow palm trees for oil instead of slavery. Near home here, we've been looking at female circumcision, and it was also discovered. One of the challenges faced with female circumcision was that it was also a trade. It was a means of livelihood. So you don't stop those women who are circumcising, the old women circumcising, just like that. What will they eat? So things were worked out to deal with the money part of it. Equally, these border young people who are our children and grandchildren can be directed into more meaningful ways of livelihood. The challenge is for us as a country to think.
But from the government side, to deal with people like you who hold the opinion that probably we should do away with the sector, or even do away with the alarming statistics that come from accidents therein. We've seen them attach a rider to the flagship program whereby it is only going to start with 200,000 border riders who adhere to the NTSA regulations to enjoy perks like now the free medical cover and all that. Don't you think it is solving the problem by starting from the most basic?
You can't. That's not an industry you can sanitize. First of all, it doesn't have income for anybody. Borders make money for Indians and Chinese who sell, but not as a business. It's not, try it. You'll come back to me and tell me there's no money.
It is not a viable venture?
No, it's not viable. It just can't give you money.
It cannot?
No, even in fact, let me tell you this. I think as a country we have a crisis. Do you know how much national resources in terms of health we spend on people who have pneumonia, what have you? How much as a country? All thanks to border riders. The young men and women who leave their houses at 4:35, not caring to dress well, and carrying passengers without the helmet to protect you from the wind and the cold, without protective jacket, not just a reflective jacket because of the weather. If you look at Nairobi, those who are seasoned, look at the way they dress. They know that wind, that cold can injure you.
Hazardous.
If you are to follow people in government hospitals and other facilities, those who have respiratory diseases, and find which ones you can trace to border, you'll be shocked. That's why I'm saying this country, we don't think. Even the organs and institutions that must think for the country in terms of security of the country, they are not doing their work. They would have advised government, if you just go to hospital, leave alone accident victims from border. Watu wako na magonjwa ya kifua na nini na pneumonia, and we are spending so much on them because sometimes it advances into TB and therefore free treatment and what have you, and the complications. Those you can link to matatus and the borders, because the matatu is not like an organized bus. It is living gong with the cold now. At 5, at 6 in the morning, the doors are not closed. The windows are broken. People in that matatu, 2, 3 of them will end up in hospital with pneumonia. This is where the intelligence of the country comes in. What we call strategic security for the country. Because at the end of the day, the country spends so much resources foolishly on people who should not even have gotten. Anybody can get sick. But if you leave your house with a border, expose your chest January to February, like it is cold in Nairobi, how do you expect not to get pneumonia and other problems? And it's the government that will treat you.
True.
At the cost of the taxpayer. So when you do the plus and minus, you can't convince anybody you need border in this country. You don't. But you need to look at these young people, give them alternative livelihoods. What can they do? Look at matatu. These boys the bulk of the boys in the matatu, even as they expose themselves to all the risk and expose others to their subculture and all the bad things that happen, they get nothing out of it. The guys in treasury there and everywhere, they don't know. They can talk about hustlers and what. They don't know these boys who do matatu. They just do matatu for 10, 15 years. They go back in the village, empty-handed, perhaps to die. They come from our villages. Yet, if we organize these matatus and first house all the matatus from town and told these matatu operators, you are operating the Ongatarongai route. We want you to come together under the guidance of the Minister of Trade and other government agencies to have modern buses plying Ongatarongai town and go around Ngong. The way now 126 used to go, it becomes 111 round. One way of ending congestion in town. Buses were circular. No bus stopped in town. 23 Kangemi up to Outer Ring. 34 Otiende up to airport.
Big thinking.
Yes. So if you take these matatu people and stop all the matatus, let them bring modern transport, trams, or modern buses like you see in Dar es Salaam.
Yeah, sure.
Only by the same matatu people, including those touts and drivers, you will have done 2 things. You will have stopped congestion in town. You would have ended the matatu subculture, which is a bad culture. Many girls get spoiled in Nairobi and get pregnant because of these matatu people. The second thing you will have done, you will have created decent jobs for these people. Watapiga tie na ile machine kako nakata tiketi, wako na pension,
streamlining the sector,
wako na leave, wako na medical.
A formalized
you have formalized the matatu people. Now you have helped them. That's the way to go. That is the thinking this country requires, to formalize all informal sectors and to phase out those that cannot survive in the 21st century. You can't see somebody pulling a mkokoteni in town and you tell me anatafuta chakula yake.
Even then,
unatafuta chakula yako and then you cause a jam that then people would have created 200 jobs that hour can't create a single job.
Or investors.
Na wewe umezaa unataka mtoto wako apate kazi na utaki afurute hiyo mkokoteni. No, we are lying to our people. First, our leaders cannot be happy if any of their children was doing mkokoteni business or border. Number 1. Number 2, Richard, Even that boda rider, I want him to come here and tell me he would want his son to be a boda rider. So, no. Yet he doesn't get enough money to take their child to Alliance.
Or Aga Khan Hospital.
Yeah. So why don't he leave this stupid job? We create for him a good job that will guarantee his child will get good education and get a decent job.
But then again,
otherwise this circle, the vicious circle, you are a Mkokoteni person, you are a boda person, you do not earn enough to take care of your children. They become worse than you tomorrow. That's not the life we want for our people.
But just the other day, the Deputy President, while addressing some graduates, say there is no employment in Kenya, and one of the avenues the government is going to tap into employment is getting those graduates into the affordable housing scheme. But then there are those who actually compared the two, boda sector and the affordable jobs in kazi ya mjengo, and they say boda is even a more dignified labor front. Do you subscribe with that argument that better boda than kwenda kwa mjengo?
Everywhere, there is no thinking. Even this housing, there's no thinking. What is it you want to solve? Now the president comes out openly. He says he's not even interested in the houses. Was it the president or the deputy?
Deputy president.
It's not even the houses we are interested in. We want to create kazi ya mjengo.
Yeah.
Mtoto yake anaweza kwenda kwa kazi ya mjengo hiyo. There will be no job from this housing. It's a scam. If this housing were to succeed, and I'm using English carefully, because it will not succeed. So if it were to succeed, and you are able to put up 200,000 houses in a year, I've said repeatedly, it will be good business. And therefore there will be no Kenyan anachomelea madirisha. Madirisha itatoka China ikiwa tayari. Milango itatoka China ikiwa tayari. And they will not stop it. People who can't stop the Chinese from selling fish here, competing with Mama Otieno to sell fish, cannot stop the Chinese from bringing windows and the panels.
No, this Juakali along Gong Road who will be employed in the affordable housing?
None of them. They will not. Forget about it. None of them will do a window for those.
The government campaigned on the pedal of it's a government for boda riders, not for mjengo. How can it go against them?
How can a government say they want people to be doing mjengo and the boda? The government should say we want to phase out boda. We want to phase out the
Mtumba industry.
All these things that compromise on dignity of labor and of human beings. We cannot pride ourselves as a country of hustlers. No, we want to be a country where people have a certain minimum standards of life. Minimum.
The same country wants to upscale its manufacturing presence by even assembling motorcycles here, manufacturing motorcycles here.
Which motorcycle? Nobody can do it. They will just get...
Instead of importing from India and China.
They will bring things and assemble them. That's not manufacturing. They'll just bring kits and join them here. And get nothing. And employ... this country has a problem. I think there was something like that in Nakuru. They cannot employ more than 100 people because they are simply assembling.
Not manufacturing from square one.
They're just assembling. So they employ 70, 80 people.
Only.
Or 20.
And they import the parts.
So, yeah, they assemble. I've told you they're assembling. They're not manufacturing anything.
So nothing to do with that.
We started numerical machinery. Somehow under Kenya Railways and University of Nairobi. A very good idea to make us manufacture mechanical things and do molds for things and produce spares and everything, but nothing good has come out of it.
Well, there you have it from Herman Manyora. We've been talking matters the boda industry and how that sector can be revitalized so that it becomes even more viable to really bring the much needed fortunes for the government and also to improve the livelihoods and welfare of taxpayers and Kenyans at large with their families therein. That has been our conversation today. Stay tuned to this particular edition. We'll be rolling out subsequent subjects that you really need to be posted on. Those that will make you get to be better at making informed decisions about your finances and also about governance structures of your resources. Time now for Fun of the Week. It is none other than this amazing lady, Shiro Njogu from Dedan Kimathi University.
Shiro Njogu, thank you very much for being part of us. Yes, and say hi to everybody at Dedan Kimathi. That's in Nyeri.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
It's freezing cold there.
Wonderful call. I was there last week.
Oh, really?
I was there on Sunday.
Aha.
Yeah.
Very well. Until next time on Business Glade, I'm yours truly, Richard Mwenja. Up next on your screen is the Business Glade African proverb of the day.